How interesting has it been for you in terms of the environment? I mean, you've seen these things before, but is it different? Or listen, it is one of those things.
I will not say it's one of those things. It's different. I mean, we've gone through this cycle several times, and I don't know if you listened to the Constitutional Day lecture I gave recently. I talked about similar examples in the past. We actually did go through a haircut in 2015. A lot of people forget that.
Someone was drawing my attention that there's been something like that
But
before.
that haircut was a haircut that only the banks faced. I don't remember the figure. I think it was about 3% or so that the government negotiated with the banks to take a haircut on the bonds that were held by the banks. But this one is quite pervasive. Not only is it affecting non-banking institutions, also it is affecting individuals. Previously not affecting individuals, but now affecting individuals. And of course, even if you don't add quote and unquote the individuals, a lot of individuals have savings in collective investment schemes. They bought bonds through banks and all these things. So it's quite pervasive. And also it's for the first time that it is almost coming on the back of a bankruptcy. I mean, just put it simply, because we just can't pay our debt, both local and foreign. And more importantly, you are having a zero coupon this year. You basically are not earning any interest throughout. So this is quite pervasive and quite different.
I mean, I'll come back to the definition. You being a legal person, whether indeed it can be qualified as bankruptcy when you have a debt exchange program. But for most businesses that are formalized, or let's say, let me use this expression carefully, any serious business has already planned for this year. Let's start first with the small enterprises. How do you implement that strategy in the midst of an environment where you don't even know how this whole IMF program would go, because it is, I mean, it's based on something before this deal can be closed. The global uncertainty, I mean, of course, you cannot forget about the Russian-Ukraine war, the geopolitics that are going on and all the rest. How do you get it right in the midst of this uncertainty?
I think we have to look at it not from the point of view of exactly what is going on. If you are implementing a business program, or if you are implementing your strategy, which is what your question is about, you should be looking at it from the point of view of your strategy first, more than what is going on. What is going on impacts on it, but you need to first go back to your strategy. So if your question is about implementation, the first issue is whether or not you have a strategy in the first place, because if you don't have one, you cannot be implementing that which you don't have. So I'm assuming businesses do have it. Some don't. If you don't, then you are going to have.
But that's serious. Even if it's a small business, you should have a plan that.
Yes, but not all of them do have. Not many people actually have a plan or a strategy that they implement. Some just go, I mean, by the day. I mean, let's take businesses.
Here as you go, obey the wind.
Well, there are some businesses, for example, whose business they plan around what government does. I was on a platform recently consisting of businessmen and CEOs, and I was quite surprised to find one CEO waiting for certain policies of government before he finalizes his plan. I think differently when it comes to that. So if you do have a strategy, I assume that your strategy will be either long-term or short-term. Generally, I prefer the approach where you have a vision for the long-term, 5 years, the average business will do 5 years. And where you have a strategy that is coterminous with it. My approach to strategy lately is that because of the way things change so frequently, it is better to have a medium-term strategy cycle than a long-term strategy cycle. So my strategy cycle I recommend is 3 years and not 5 years. Whilst the vision will be 5 years. And then I do recommend short-term tactical planning, which is different from strategy. The tactical planning is what you are doing by the day, which is the one which reacts to the things happening around you. So if you, let's say you do have a strategy and you are lucky enough, for some people, the debt exchange will be good. For some people. And not just like COVID. For some people benefited from it. Except that the number of people who will benefit from this may be very, very small again. And it will still be very annoying for those who are, the majority of the people are the ones who it's annoying, right? Now, if you are benefiting from any government or any policy or any change, you are having a tailwind and it's pushing you. But if you are not benefiting from it, it's a headwind, and therefore you are facing a stop. But it's all based on the strategy that you do have and that you are implementing. So the first point is that you must have one. If you don't have one, then you are going to be thrown all over the place. If you do have one, then you check whether or not any of these things happening requires adjustments in your strategy, which I believe for 99% of companies in this country, the answer will be yes. You have to adjust your strategy or your business plan for the year because this is quite unexpected and there has been enough policy inconsistency that requires you to make such adjustments. So in implementing it, that will be the first scope of things I will be recommending that people do look at.